Hey, welcome to week 4. This week your song critique papers are due, so best of luck with those. Be sure to read your syllabus thoroughly, be sure to look at your rubrics, and you should have a good time with the critique paper. That's a little different than last week's paper. This week, in terms of artists, we'll be getting into the folk music with Dylan, and then the Byrds, the lineage between those two and others. Last week I talked about Otis Redding, and this week I've paired him with Aretha Franklin, both doing Respect, so that's kind of a fun comparison. For teachers in the class and everybody, I really enjoyed looking at the Minnesota High School. They do a thing with blues in the schools. It's a curriculum development way to illustrate literature and arts and social issues and history and such through illustrating blues music, and they had a great advantage of having B.B. King actually come to their school. And how many schools could have B.B. King walk in and spend a whole day there, or however much time he spent there? This is a 13-part video. We only see one part, and you can pursue that by going to YouTube and looking at the other parts, but it's a fabulous way to teach and learn. And I've done blues in the schools, kind of lyceums, where I go into schools with a band and illustrate music and talk about the history behind it, and kids love it. It's so interactive and wonderful, and I'd love to do more of that kind of thing. It's difficult to find footage of the Chitlin circuit. That's a circuit that B.B. King was on in the 50s, and this talks about a resurgence of blues. But I found footage of him from 1968, and that's about as old as I could find, old footage as I could find of B.B. King, other than Minnesota stuff, which is probably done in the 90s or something. Genre studies define soul or psychedelic or folk music, but we have them all kind of swirled together in what the authors call art rock. Andy Warhol was heavily influential in the art rock movement, and it spanned a lot of different genres, but it had an artistic and self-reflective quality that music prior to that really had not had. We talked this week about Jimi Hendrix, psychedelic music. He had to go to England and make it big there before coming back to America. I guess you can't be a poet, in your own neighborhood. But Jimi Hendrix, a real odd thing is he toured with the Monkees, Davy Jones and Peter Tork and Michael Nesmith and all those guys, Mickey Dolenz. They invited him. They recognized his great talent, invited him on the stage with them to open their show, and he accepted because he knew it would be a good way to get publicity. And he got tired of kids night after night yelling, "We want the Monkees, we want the Monkees," when he was playing. So he finally left the tour a little disenchanted, but it did give him some notoriety, and then he became very famous shortly after that. This week, you'll see him set his guitar on fire at the Monterey Pop and Jazz Festival in 1967, I believe it was. What fabulous footage. I'm sure today's safety regulations would not allow you to do what he did with the lighting fluid and lighting his guitar and then picking it up and bashing it. Wow, amazing that it ever happened like that. There's a club that's sometimes referred to in rock and roll music called the 27 Club. And in that club are people like Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, Jim Morrison, Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones. All of those guys died when they were 27 years old. Why 27? What is it about that age? I have a couple theories, but I won't reveal those. You can think about it. But also, 4 out of 5 of those artists I just named had a white cigarette lighter with them at the time of their death. So there's an omen that says if you're a volatile rock and roller, you shouldn't carry a white lighter because it's a mark of death. Just something kind of quirky and interesting about rock and roll music. And you may know that on the Abbey Road record, the Beatles were said to have staged Paul McCartney's death. And if you look at the cover of the Abbey Road record, of course, there's a Volkswagen Beetle behind them where they're walking across, and it says 28IF, 28 if. McCartney was 27, so that supposedly metaphorically meant if he would have made it, he would have been 28, but instead he died. So that's the theory, and of course the Beatles refuted that, but we can talk sometime about all the different things that indicated that Paul was dead at 27. So that's just one of the quirky things about rock and roll, and kind of a fun and weird thing. But no guitar parts this week, Take care, have a good week, and best of luck with your paper.